Hello, I think most of you have met me by now, but for those that haven't, I'm Jo, and I'm out on a fairly wet day with my dog up in the countryside. I don't know if you're aware, but as a church, during Advent we followed the prayer course. We started the prayer course and we're finishing that off during Lent, and you'd be very welcome to join us. It's going to be on Tuesday evenings, but in a different group that I'm part of, we're following the prayer course 2, and the prayer course 2 thinks about what about unanswered prayer, and it's run by the same man, Pete Gregg, who runs the prayer course, and it follows the course of the Easter week. And this last week we looked at Easter Saturday, and if you can imagine Holy Week, so on Easter Saturday the disciples would have just experienced the terrors of Good Friday, where Jesus died on the cross, and they haven't yet got to the joy of the resurrection on Easter Sunday. And we can read that and we can skim past Easter Saturday, because we know, don't we? We know how the story ends. We know that Jesus is rising again. So for us, Easter Saturday can feel quite insignificant. But if you can imagine, for the disciples, they don't know what's coming. So they know that all their hopes are dead and buried with Jesus on Good Friday. And they don't know that just around the corner will come the joy of the resurrection. And I feel like we're in an Easter Saturday moment, because we're hearing such terrible news, aren't we, at the moment? And it can feel really hopeless. And I imagine that on Easter Saturday, the disciples felt really hopeless. And yet, the truth of Christ tells us that hope is alive. Jesus is alive. And so some of the thoughts that arose for me through our session on Easter Saturday with the prayer course 2. The first one was that what was true in the light is still true in the dark. There's a great verse at the beginning of John's Gospel that says, "The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness cannot extinguish it." And however dark things get, they cannot extinguish the light and the hope that we have in Christ. And Pete Gregg shares this great little phrase. He says, "When things get dark, believe your beliefs and doubt your doubts." And I just think it's natural, I don't know about you, but it's so natural that when we start to doubt, we believe our doubts and we doubt our beliefs. And so I love that phrase, believe your beliefs and doubt your doubts. And there's a great verse in the Bible where, there's so many great verses in the Bible, but there's one where a man whose son is unwell and he wants Jesus to heal him. And he says to Jesus, "Lord, I believe, help my unbelief." And I think that's so helpful, because the reality is that we, despite our faith, we still have doubts. And yet we don't want to believe our doubts, we want to believe our beliefs, we want to believe our faith. And I think one of the things that I find really helpful is to turn to the Psalms. And if you need a lesson in how to do honest praying, just read a psalm, because they're so full of just being honest with God. This is what I'm struggling with. This is where are you? Like, what's going on? I don't get it. And yet I praise you. I know that you are good, and I believe you and I trust in you. So just turn to the Psalms. If you need help with praying, if you don't know how to pray, turn to the Psalms and let them help you to pray. And then another verse that I'd like to leave you with is from Philippians 4. And I don't know if I can remember all of it, but let's have a go. So in Philippians 4, it says, "Rejoice in the Lord always. I will say it again, rejoice. Let your gentleness be evident to all. The Lord is near. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and petition, present your requests to God with thanksgiving. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. So don't stop rejoicing. Don't stop thanking God. Don't stop trusting. And don't stop believing your beliefs and doubting your doubts. And despite the darkness, the light cannot be extinguished. Jesus is alive. We have hope.